What is a geomagnetic storm? A geomagnetic storm is a disturbance of Earth's magnetosphere caused by solar-wind interactions, often triggered by coronal mass ejections, CMEs. These events can increase electric currents, alter the ionosphere, and create stunning auroras. However, they can also disrupt power grids, satellites, and communication systems, underscoring the need for space weather forecasting. Phases of geomagnetic storms. A geomagnetic storm consists of three distinct phases: initial, main, and recovery. Initial phase. This phase shows a quick rise in the DST index by 20 to 50 nanotesla, indicating a sudden compression of the magnetosphere. Main phase. The DST index drops below 50 nanotesla, often reaching 600 nanotesla, and lasts 2 to 8 hours, with energized particles entering the magnetosphere. Recovery phase. This phase begins after the lowest DST value and can last from hours to days as the magnetic field stabilizes. How do geomagnetic storms form? A geomagnetic storm forms when solar wind interacts with Earth's magnetosphere, starting with coronal mass ejections, CMEs, or high-speed solar wind carrying the interplanetary magnetic field, IMF. When the IMF is southward, it reconnects with Earth's magnetic field, allowing charged particles to enter. This buildup stretches the magnetotail, and during the main phase the field lines snap back, releasing energy and creating electric currents called the ring current. This can cause auroras and disrupt satellites and power grids. Storm intensity depends on solar wind strength. What is coronal mass ejection? A coronal mass ejection, CME, is a large expulsion of plasma and magnetic field from the Sun's corona into space. CMEs can disrupt Earth's magnetosphere, potentially causing geomagnetic storms. Effects of geomagnetic storms of May 2024. Auroras. Stunning auroras were visible at unusually low latitudes, including the southern US, Mexico, and even northern India, along with parts of Europe, Japan, South Africa, Australia, and South America. Power systems. The storm caused voltage fluctuations and potential blackouts, with geomagnetically induced currents, GICs, threatening transformers and electrical grid stability. Satellite operations. Satellites face challenges like surface charging and increased drag due to changes in atmospheric density. Communication disruptions. High-frequency radio communications suffered signal degradation, and GNSS, including GPS, experienced inaccuracies due to ionospheric disturbances. Causes of May 2024 geomagnetic storm. Coronal mass ejections and solar flares. In May 2024, coronal mass ejections, CMEs, significantly contributed to geomagnetic storms. These bursts of solar wind and magnetic fields from the Sun interacted with Earth's magnetic field, causing disturbances. This led to stunning auroras and some disruptions in technology, showcasing the impact of solar activity on space weather. In May 2024, solar flares triggered geomagnetic storms by releasing intense radiation and increasing charged particle flows toward Earth. This caused communication disruptions and beautiful auroras, highlighting their impact on space weather. What are past events of geomagnetic storms? March 1989 geomagnetic storm. The March 1989 geomagnetic storm was a significant solar event that had a profound impact on Earth's infrastructure. Caused by a series of coronal mass ejections, CMEs, from the Sun, the storm led to a massive power outage in Quebec, Canada, lasting 9 hours. The storm also disrupted satellite communications and caused widespread auroras to be seen as far south as Texas and Florida. Bastille Day event. The Bastille Day solar storm refers to a significant geomagnetic storm that occurred on July 14, 2000, coinciding with the French holiday. Triggered by a coronal mass ejection from the Sun, this G3 class storm caused voltage fluctuations in power grids, disrupted satellite operations, and affected high-frequency radio communications. The Carrington event. The Carrington event of 1859 was a massive solar storm that caused brilliant auroras and disrupted telegraph systems, marking the most intense geomagnetic storm on record. How did NASA track the most intense solar storm? NASA tracked a strong solar storm using satellites like SOHO and SDO for real-time data on flares and coronal mass ejections. Collaborating with NOAA, they predicted the storm's effects on Earth's magnetic field and monitored disturbances, preparing for potential impacts on satellites, power grids, and communications.